The Honourable Member Marianne Street.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I take great pleasure in rising to speak to this bill. As my colleague Ruth Dyson has said, Labor will be supporting this bill to Select Committee. Mr Speaker, this is a Nelson issue. This is a big issue in Nelson. The whole business of responsibility for the environment and the responsibility of visitors to our lovely parts, the loveliest parts of our country, is one of the presumptions of this piece of legislation, and I support that. Mr Speaker, over the summer in Nelson, this issue kept coming up and coming up. And I'd like to give a couple of particular examples from my own experience. I have the privilege of living just a block away from a park, quite a large park in Nelson. And down the end of a dead-end street that crosses the street that I live were a number of motorhomes, camper vans that were parked that began to attract a lot of public attention for two reasons. One was that there were about a dozen of them parked, or up to a dozen of them parked, and I saw them there myself. It wasn't hard to see them on my way home. No. And these camper vans were parked there in a place that wasn't a camping area, and that's one issue. But the second thing is the fouling of that area really upset local residents, including myself. It's not good to go to bits of the road that abut parks where people might stop and park their motorhomes or their camper vans, and when they're not self-contained camper vans, then proceed to use the public area as their own personal toilet. It is not responsible, and it is not what we want either from tourists or from New Zealanders who are camping. And it goes to everybody, Mr Speaker. This is about tourists who come to New Zealand to enjoy our picturesque areas. They must know that it is not acceptable for them to foul our beautiful environment any more than it is for any of us to do that. And so I support this legislation. The issue ran hot in Nelson because there was a real concern, and I hope the Minister has got this right in this legislation, and we'll find out shortly in the Select Committee. I think it's about right. But the issue is not preventing people from pulling up and parking and stopping and enjoying our lovely environment. Nobody wants to stop that. So when they're called freedom campers, in Nelson there was a bit of a backlash, and people said, oh, you're going to outlaw a way of life that we enjoy. And that is clearly not the purpose of this legislation. And I would not support it if it were. But what we do require from both sides of the House, we require people who want to enjoy, whether it's Neil Park or anywhere else in Nelson, but to enjoy those areas that give them access to lovely views, that give them access to the water, that give them access to recreation in our environment, to treat it with respect. We don't ask for any more or any less than that. I want to give another example that's also related to my own experience. Members of my family have a place in the Marlborough Sounds, which is not where I live. I live in Nelson, but it's common for Nelson people to holiday in the Marlborough Sounds and to go there for recreation. And I'm one of those people, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm not going to tell people exactly where the place is, because they might go and enjoy it too much. But it does happen at this little bay where my family have a house. that there is a legitimate camping site that the Marlborough District Council has said, yes, is a camping site for 2 nights only. And the locals have had to put up signs saying, please don't treat this like your personal toilet, because the abuse that has occurred in that lovely part of the Marlborough Sounds has been obscene. It's offensive in anybody's language. And if these people can be fined, then good. Let's slap an instant fine on them. But more than that, let us demonstrate to those people who come to our country as tourists that we are equipping the local authorities to do something about this. Now, where my family is in the Marlborough Sounds, it's the District Council, Marlborough District Council, as I say, has allocated space for freedom campers. And that's great. It's a beautiful spot, and it's nice, and I don't begrudge anybody spending a couple of nights there. But if their vehicle is not self-contained and is not geared for disposing of their own waste, then I'm sorry, they cannot use our backyard for that purpose. So it doesn't matter whether it's a park in Nelson or it's a dear little bay where I'm still trying to catch snapper in the Marlborough Sounds. The protection of the environment that this bill provides is worth supporting. I have a bit of a problem, and I hope we can sort it out in the Select Committee, about the mechanisms around the instant fine. I think that will be quite hard to recover that from campers sometimes. But if it can be done through credit card bills, then that's fine. I remember a long time ago, a very long time ago, getting a fine through Hertz because I travelled in a bus lane without knowing it in Rome, driving a rental car, and everybody was going at a zillion miles an hour, so it was really, really hard to know. I was just trying to stay alive. I didn't know it was a bus lane, but anyway, I got a ticket later on through Hertz for travelling in a bus lane, and so you cop that, and clearly it's possible. It can be extracted later on. But just build somebody's credit card is a very easy way of doing that. But let's explore the practicalities of it. In essence, this is a constructive bill. I like the fact that it underscores people's responsibility. We have a responsibility as citizens and keepers of this land to protect it. But the people who come to visit it also have a responsibility to treat our land and this place with respect as well. I spent a large part of my youth tramping up and down Mount Taranaki. Born and brought up in New Plymouth, you go to the beach, you go to the mountain. And we learned to, if you took something in, you took it out. You don't leave it behind. You don't foul the environment with waste of any sort. But the particularly offensive examples that we've had recently in the Nelson area have made me absolutely committed to making sure that this provision goes through, but also works so that the local councils and DOC do have the ability to strike fines and to punish people where they are caught. But it goes to our reputation as a country, as a tourist destination, and our own responsibility to look after and be the kaitiaki, to be the guardians of our environment. And to that end, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill, and so will most of the people in Nelson. Thank you.
I